and welcome to our YouTube channel. Today's topic will be Hospice 101. We have Nurse Kathy and I am Nurse Julie, and we are going to share our experiences with hospice, and Kathy has extreme expertise in this topic, and so I'll be asking her some questions about hospice, and hopefully we can maybe answer some of your questions out there, and we'll get started. So hospice, Kathy, can you explain what hospice is?
Sure. So let me just back this up by saying that I was a full-time hospice nurse with the certification in hospice and palliative nursing for 7 years of my career. So this is very near and dear to my heart.
Okay.
So what hospice is hospice is a lot of things to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Hospice would be considered end-of-life care. So it's care that is given to people when there really isn't anything else we can do.
Okay.
Sometimes when people hear those words, that's a really good trigger that they need to look at things maybe in a different way.
Okay. Is it a curative form, or like you just said, it's...
No, it's kind of like, people dance along these disease processes for a while. People can keep it all together for years and years and years, and eventually you'll hear people say, they're tired of going back to the hospital.
Okay.
Or they're in and out like multiple times in a very short period of time, and those are sort of like just sort of hints that maybe their disease process is changing to where conventional medicine and everything they've always done really isn't going to work anymore.
Okay, so how do they get started, or who do they start with if they're interested in enrolling in hospice?
Okay, so hospice treats certain diseases. So I can remember from my years, there's about 12 of them. I won't remember all of them, but there are different criteria. So if your loved one has dementia, there's a point in the dementia disease process where they're not able, they're not continent anymore, or they're wetting their pants, and they're not talking anymore, and they're asleep all the time, or they're not eating.
Right.
Eating patterns change.
Right.
So dementia can be is a good example. Heart disease, people are on medicines for a long time and they work great, and then all of a sudden the medicines don't work, they don't feel good anymore, they don't have any energy anymore. So dementia, heart disease, lung issues, AIDS and HIV are in there. I've had people who have had Parkinson's disease before, different kinds of cancers, of course. So there's quite a bit. A lot of times I think maybe, I don't want to say disservice, but it kind of is, I guess. But one of the disservices done to people is that if you were my caregiver,
right,
and you were noticing these changes with me, and you were concerned, and you called the doctor and you said, how do I know if Kathy needs hospice? And the doctor may say to you, she doesn't need it yet. I think that's a big disservice. I think caregivers, loved ones, neighbors, spouses, church friends,
right,
whoever, you need to trust your gut. That's
right,
why God gave it to you, right? So trust your gut and make the call and say, I really want this person evaluated.
Right, because from what I understand too, is getting on hospice earlier than later
always better.
Is really beneficial, because the hospice staff can get to know their patients.
Absolutely.
And concerns that the family might have. Absolutely. As well. So
it's always better.
Yeah. So
and if they're not ready, like if someone were to come out to see me and you were just, you were like, I think she's there, and I'm still doing my thing, but I'm changing.
Right.
if they came out and they said, they might say, Julie, she's not there yet,
right,
but we're going to call you in a month,
right,
or here's my card, and if
right,
anything changes, you call me back. So once you make that initial contact, you'll get a much clearer idea from that professional coming into your home.
Okay, and is there any prognosis, like if somebody, do they have to be terminal maybe?
Well, they usually, the question that we always encourage people to ask is, would you be surprised if your loved one was gone or passed away within the next 6 to 12 months? And again, you're going to know. You've watched these changes happen over time, and no one has a crystal ball.
Right, and that's really hard on families to watch
Yes.
their loved one, their health
Yep.
decline. So in saying that, what kind of services, or staff does hospice, what do they provide the patient and family?
Hospice is amazing. Hospice is a holistic, comprehensive program.
Okay.
So when a person signs up for hospice, and Medicare pays for hospice 100%, there's no out of pocket, it's part of a person's benefit.
Okay.
If they're not on Medicare, and they're would be considered to be of working age and they're not on Medicare yet, I wouldn't tell anybody never to call hospice, because
Right.
they work the billing out. You don't even need to worry about that.
Right, and they can guide.
Absolutely.
And another thing too, I always understood is that if a patient or family had questions and they were talking directly to hospice can contact their doctors directly
Absolutely.
too, and get answers to questions that the family may not know, or get too upset to answer.
Sure. Or have that
help.
person run interference to get all those loose ends tied up.
Right.
But to your question about what a hospice experience looks like, is that a hospice is a team of people.
Mm-hmm.
So every patient and family, because we take care of the families too.
Right,
If we don't take care of the families, they can't take care of our patients. So this is for the whole unit.
Right.
They get a nurse case manager, which is someone that comes in 1 to 5 times a week, depending on what's going on.
Right.
Someone who's going to sit with that patient on the couch and talk to them about how they're feeling, what they're noticing, what they're experiencing. Make sure that they have their medications, that the family member understands how to give the medicines.
Right.
That the family member feels comfortable doing that, because it's different in every home. And so that's the nurse piece of it. There's always a medical director, a doctor, because the nurses are not out there just doing whatever they want. All of these orders, this plan of care is a team effort with that medical director at the very head of that person's care. They make recommendations for symptom management and what can we maybe give somebody differently so that it's easier for them to take it, or do they really need their allergy eye drops anymore? So just different, a person who really understands the disease process and how that person is most likely going to go through this.
Right.
There's always a chaplain, and a chaplain is not a strict denominational person. People request people to come in of their specific faith, and that they make every attempt to make those things possible. But dying is not only a physical experience, but it is a spiritual and an emotional one, and that's important. And so the people that come into the house with that expertise are people who can talk to people about how they're feeling about their journey, and they can make sure that their final arrangements are done the way they want them, which is huge.
That is huge.
Huge. Right. And they're leaving, and I always felt too that it was kind of neat and really a gift to that patient that they were able to have so much control in that. Right. When they got onto hospice early, to the point of what they wanted their what they wanted things to look like, and they were able to express that. So that's big.
It takes the stress off the family,
Yes,
and
big
it
time.
just
Big
and it
time.
gives family, like you said, support in
Yeah.
just having and knowing there's people to call if they have questions or concerns.
Yes.
So, and home health aides, I heard that
Oh yeah,
too, right?
there's 3 more pieces of this. So the home
Right.
health aide comes in.
Right.
However, many times a week that family member thinks that person's going to need care. If it's helping that person in and out of the shower, are we doing bed baths? Are we helping them brush their teeth? Are we
Right.
shaving? What are we doing? You know, that belongs to the health aide, and that they're a huge part of our team. And they get to be so close with the families because it's intimate care and a lot of support. Everyone's got that same hospice heart, so that's usually a big check on the box. People love their health aides. The other part of it is there's always a social worker involved, and the social worker really helps that person make sure that they're coping well. You know, this is not you're terminal, therefore in 2 weeks you're gone. This is a process, just like being born is. And so that social worker works heavily and quite intimately with the patient and family, or whoever really is willing to work with them.
And they can address depression or anxiety concerns, not only for the patient, but for family members as well.
And financial barriers.
Right.
Making sure, a lot of people, they don't have money for funerals, but there's so many resources out there. And a social worker is a person who is able to tap into that and really help those families and relieve the burden of stress associated with all the financial pieces, insurance, all that stuff.
Right.
So huge support there. And then the last piece of support is a bereavement coordinator. And bereavement coordinators often work as part of a volunteer department, although they're paid staff. They follow people after. So if you were to lose me, and now we have all the firsts, we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, we have my birthday, we have holidays, we've got to get through that whole next year. A bereavement coordinator is a person that's going to call you and say, hey, how are you doing? If you're not doing well, if things are changing and you're not coping, they're going to be able to offer you resources and supports. That is their job, is to get you to a new normal.
Right.
Right. And the last part, and I'm sorry, and I know I'm going long on this, but it's just a phenomenal, phenomenal program.
That's what we're here for today, is to let people know what is available.
Yeah.
And I had a thought as you were talking that a lot of people want to take care of their loved ones themselves.
Yes.
But what a hospice team would do is help with those physical things, the showering, the changing of the linens, all of things that might be done, so that you, the family member, can visit with your loved one and be by their bedside
and just be the family
and just talk to them and be there for them, and let others help you by providing those supports. And a lot of people don't realize that.
No man should ever be an island in end-of-life care.
Yeah, it's a journey.
To do it well.
You want to spend time with your loved ones for the time that you have, and a quality of time, which,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The last part of the hospice team is near and dear to my heart. I think I might want to do this when I get older. I don't know. We'll have to see, But and if anyone out there is looking for a real mission and where to make a big difference for people, hospice has to provide, by Medicare law, a certain amount of interaction by volunteers. This ends up being such a special part of this program.
Is that where that bereavement coordinator came in? They were part of the volunteer?
They do. A lot of times they kind of wear 2 hats, but there's always bereavement for after, and there's always volunteer for during, and a lot of times those 2 departments kind of share.
Okay. But they're part of the hospice team.
Part of the hospice team. So the volunteers are really amazing, wonderful people. I have had school teachers who have been patients and had hospice volunteers, and these people have gone through classes. They have a huge hospice heart. They're basically considered employees of the company, so they're safe to let you in, to let into your home. But I've had a teacher once who had just an amazing collection of children's books that she absolutely loved, and her hospice volunteer would come in once a week and read her some of her favorite children's books, like Winnie the Pooh, and I mean just whatever, you know. I've had people who love puzzles, and people are lonely, you know, they might live by themselves or see their family periodically, and they've come in and they have puzzle day.
Right. And speaking of these kinds of things that this hospice that you had experience with did, it's good to check out the services and make a list of what your needs are as the patient and also as the family. Because not all hospices may have the staff to provide that service, so it's good to interview multiple hospices to get that kind of care that you're seeking for your loved one and the supports for you and your family. You know, Kathy, and one topic we didn't talk about today yet is medications, and how does that work when you have somebody in excruciating pain, or they just want some comfort, or maybe somebody's saying, well, you should go get your labs drawn because we want to look at this. How does that work?
That is very different per individual. The way that the medication benefit works is Medicare says whatever it takes to keep that patient comfortable, as long as it fits under their diagnosis of why they're on hospice in the first place, like if they have heart failure, then the medicine that works for heart failure patients to keep them comfortable is covered. There are medicines that are always going to be covered under hospice because hospice's goal of care is to keep that patient comfortable. So that's always going to change based on what the symptoms are.
Right.
And so the other really neat thing about the hospice piece with the medications is that it's done to whatever that person wants. If they don't want to be so relaxed that they don't get to visit with their family, you know, they're allowed to pull off and skip their meds. Which, you know, when do you ever hear someone having the ability to make their own decisions like that? But it is definitely like that. And the medication pieces of it are very specific. The teaching is done with the families. The teaching is done with the patients. And so that changes as time goes on, depending on what's going on with that patient.
And would you say, too, that let's say somebody is continuing to go to their primary care, and the primary care, because they're in so much pain, maybe they have cancer, let's say that. So they go to their primary care, and the primary care is only going to give them, with opioids and everything that is going on right now, and sometimes you have to sign contracts for pain medication and that. Hospice do you think hospice would require that, or are they a little bit?
No, hospice is different. Hospice is different entirely. I would encourage, when people have really specific questions about what's covered and what isn't, is during that interview process to bring those concerns up. Primary care doctors aren't the greatest hospice doctors. The greatest hospice doctors are hospice doctors.
Okay, and that's really important for everyone out there to know.
Because care can be done anywhere.
Right.
I have had hospice patients who they've been in long-term care facilities, and they still get all this stuff.
Right.
But they live in long-term care facilities. They live in adult foster cares. They live anywhere that people call home. I have been to the campground before, and I have friends who have been under the bridge.
Right.
And so the mission is to have everybody level set and have the same benefit when it comes to this, because this is important work. And this is an important time of people's life.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can also have hospice in your home too.
Absolutely.
Have them come to your home.
Yep. And most care is done wherever that patient lives.
Okay. But again, there's different facilities or different places people can have their hospice at. And it's their choice and their family's choice.
Absolutely. If they want to move into Aunt Bertha's house for 3 months and Aunt Bertha says, come on, we go to Aunt Bertha's house. It's just, it's a free-flowing thing.
Yeah, and it's a difficult topic. Hospice is such a difficult topic because people automatically think it's, you know,
I'm going to die in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and
that's
they
not
get scared.
true.
And really, from my understanding too, is hospice, you know, you could come off of hospice. That is rare. We don't want, you know, it can happen though. So,
you know, a lot of life is fluid and health is fluid as well.
Right.
And sometimes people decline.
Right.
And their doctor says, you know, if you want to go on to hospice right now, I'm not going to argue with you.
Right.
It looks like it's a good idea today.
Right.
In 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, if that person seems to rally, get better, wants to go back to the PCP office, has a new sense of self, maybe it was something just floating through the air, we don't know, but they get better, or when they weren't expected to, we are happy to, we graduate our people,
No,
and send them back out into the community.
And that's good.
So
it's hope.
Yeah, so I think really in wrapping this up, because it's such a huge topic, is hospice is a paid benefit. We would love it if every person died with hospice. It's a better situation for everybody. There's a lot of cultural issues, but I think everybody deserves this information to make their own
their own choices.
Own choices.
Right.
It's not a commitment. If you don't like it, you don't have to stay on it.
Right.
If you would rather spend your last days in the ICU, that is up to you.
Right.
It's a very individualized program.
Right.
But the idea of it, and the reason why it's so important to us that you all have this information, if these are things that are starting to come into your world, is it's free. The medicines to keep a person comfortable are free. The care coming to your home is free. You can call hospice 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're never going to get a bill. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, but that's probably...
And again, in summing it up too, is you're providing comfort, support, and a quality of care, and just enhancing your quality of life while you're experiencing the journey through hospice. But
we're gonna have another video about how to pick a hospice, because like you said earlier, not all hospices are created equal. Correct. So we're gonna have sort of a little
maybe a shorter video
on
today,
how to pick one out.
Sure. And so watch for that. And we are Nurse Table Talk. And again, this is Kathy, and we thank you so much for sharing your expertise, Kathy.
Yeah.
Our viewers will hopefully, if
they
have questions, always talk to your doctors. Call hospice directly.
If underneath our video will always be a comment section.
And send those in.
If you have questions that we weren't able to address, and you need to know where to take your questions to.
Yeah.
Or maybe I babbled too long, which could potentially happen. Just put a little comment down there, and we'll happily address it next time.
And Kathy's not babbling; she's just awesome to work with.
Yeah.
Anyway. Thank you today.
Yeah, have a great day.
And look forward to seeing you again on our other episodes of Nurse Table Talk.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Like the content you just watched? Hit the like button or hit subscribe here. If you want to be notified of any future videos, please ring that bell. If there's any topic you'd like to see discussed, leave us a comment in the comment section. Nurse Table Talk. Save time, save money, be informed. Thanks for watching.